Want to speak real Turkish from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at turkishclass101.com.
Hello, merhaba, I'm Seda. Ben Seda. Welcome to turkishclass101.com. Today we'll talk about the costs of living in Turkey. And Turkey is a very big country, so the costs are generally different in big cities and the small villages. And the rents and the earnings and a lot of things differ. So I will use Istanbul as an example. Istanbul is not the capital but the biggest city in Turkey, and around 20 million live in Istanbul, so it will give you a rough idea. Istanbul is one of the, I think, the most expensive city as well. But if you're just visiting, this is important knowledge. But if you are planning to live in Turkey, generally in Istanbul the incomes are also higher. So the costs are higher, but the incomes are higher. And when you go to other cities, the incomes is a little bit less than you can earn in Istanbul, but your costs are also a little bit less. So let's start with our costs. It's a good information. So let's start with rent. So in Istanbul there are two sides, one Anatolian side and one European side, and we have 3 bridges and one under tunnel that you can go by car, and one subway goes from underneath the Bosphorus, so you can have a lot of ways to crisscross the sides. And it's literally one side is in Asia, the other side is in Europe. So it's, I think, one of the, I don't know how many other countries have that. Like we have 2 continents in one city and we have bridges connect them. So that's a little amazing, I think. Anyway, in general, the European side in rent base is higher comparing to Asian side. But it depends actually, because the central places are much more expensive than the the faraway places, and it depends on the how big you want your apartment and how many rooms. The buildings differ. From the new buildings are more expensive than the old buildings, and there are a lot of constructions because of the earthquake. The buildings are getting renewed constantly, so it depends on a lot of factors. That's why it's a little hard to give an exact number, but it starts with from 1,000 Turkish liras to, it can go to 10,000, which is very expensive, but the range is that big. So you can pick a place according to your income, and keep in mind that 1 Turkish lira is around 5.7 American dollar. So you can make your math. And generally the minimum wage in minimum income limit is it's around 2,000, I think 2,300 Turkish liras, which is very low, lower than the survival needs. So people are working on it, I think, or should work on it, but that's the minimum wage. And the rents are starting from 1,000, so you can imagine that it will be really hard to see the end of the month for a lot of people. So if you are coming here and you want to rent a house, you should know that in Istanbul, generally in Turkey, you rent apartments. Houses are very expensive. Maybe in faraway villages you can rent cheap houses, but in cities you can't just rent a house. It would be very, very expensive, and you couldn't find a lot of houses anyway. We generally live in apartment buildings, and the houses. You can rent them from, there are a couple of websites you can check out. Hürriyet Emlak, Milliyet Emlak, and sahibinden.com. You can check out these websites, or you can use, I think, Airbnb for, you know, renting houses as well. But you know, I don't know, if you're gonna stay for a couple of days, you could go to a hotel or you can use Airbnb. But if you're gonna stay here permanently, using local rental agencies or these rental websites in Turkish would help you, I think, better income wise. So check them out. And this is for rent. Okay, let's see our utilities. Okay, in general, you have to, in Turkey, you have to pay for water. This is not for drinking water. You have to pay for drinking water as well, but this is for utility, for the water coming from the pipes. We don't drink water from pipes. They're not clean. We in cities at least, we get bottled waters, and you have to pay for water, pay for electricity, pay for heating. It's generally cold. We have around 4 seasons, so winter time it's getting really cold. And we have a fee for apartments, cleaning and electricity, stuff like that. And we have, let me check, yeah, that's it. So for water, it's one of the cheapest one. This is also depend on how much you use it, but it goes from 50 Turkish liras to 200 Turkish liras for water for a month, because it depends, you know, if you're one person in a house, it's of course you would use less water, and if you are working whole day, you are not at home, you would use less water. But if you are like 4 member family, then you would use more. So from 50 Turkish liras to 200 Turkish liras. For apartment fees, if you're living in a single, you know, small apartment, the fees can go as low as 20-30 Turkish liras. But if you're living in luxury compounds, it can go to like 500 Turkish liras. So that's for apartments. Pay you pay for apartments. They take care of your apartment cleaning. They take care of your trash, and some people come at some time and collect your trash, and they take care of your sometimes security. If it's getting if you pay more, generally security includes, and you things like that. You have to pay for apartment. And heating is killing us. It's so expensive, and we generally in Istanbul, and not all the cities in Turkey, but in big cities, we use natural gas, and it's really expensive. It's again up depends on how much you use it. If you're not at home all day and you're just running the heats only for a couple of hours, of course it's not gonna get too high. But if you're using it all day long, then it would get from, I think, let me check my numbers. Yeah, minimum it's around 100 Turkish liras. For 2 it goes up to 800 Turkish liras. So it depends on how much you use it. And in some apartments you can control your heating, like you turn it on and turn it off. But in some apartments, the apartment control it, so you don't have any saying on it. So it's like a shared heating. So they calculate the amount for the whole apartments, and then they just divide it to the number. So it depends on the building as well, and how good is the apartment's physical properties. It depends on a lot of factors, but that's the range. And for water heating, some apartments use natural gas for water heating. Some apartments use electricity. So it depends on the apartment as well. And for electricity, it wasn't that expensive, but this year it's much more expensive. So it again depends on how much you use it, but it ranges from, I think it's minimum 100 Turkish liras you get for electricity. So I don't know how much that means. You can calculate the amount, but that's for the utilities and rent. So let's check out some vocabulary. We have rent, right? Rent is in Turkish kira, kira, kira. We have bill. It's fatura, fatura, fatura. And we have electricity bill, for example. It is elektrik faturası. Elektrik faturası. Elektrik faturası. We have water bill. It's su faturası. Su faturası. Su faturası. And we have natural gas bill. La la la. Doğal gaz faturası. Doğal gaz faturası. Doğal gaz faturası. And we have the apartment pay, as I told you before. It is aidat. Aidat. So you have your all vocabulary information for rents and utilities. Okay, so let's see what you need in Istanbul. You need to know how much you will spend on transportation, right? If you are living, most of the cities have this card. I don't have it with me right now. I would show you. But we have cards called, if you are living in Istanbul, it's called Istanbul card. If you are living in Izmir, it's called accordingly. And all the cities have their own cards. And you need to use this for public transportation. You can just pay independently, but it would be much more expensive. And let's check the fees, okay? Let's go and come back. As you can see, there is 3 different type of cards. One is full fare, the other is student card, and the other is teacher or social card. The fees are different. And there is also a monthly card which is called blue card. And the blue card prices are also different according to the card type. And you will see here this transfer fares for buses and metro buses. Metro bus is a specific type of bus separate from the traffic lane, which is good because you don't get stuck in the traffic. And you see per transfer how much does it cost. And as you can see, you can also get a free ticket, free electronic ticket, but it's more expensive. So if you are planning to travel a lot in Istanbul or in other cities, it's better to get a card to use it. Okay, so you saw the fees, and it's much more, it's smarter to use Istanbul card. You can just get smart Istanbul cards from bus stops, or you can just order online. That's okay, and use it. And there are also sometimes free passes when you use it. For example, in a time limit, you use the subway, you use the bus and the ferry. Then some of them goes on a free pass. You don't pay anything. But if you don't have the card, you have to pay for them separately. And for students, as I told you before, for students it's so inexpensive, so it's better to get Istanbul card or another city card to use the public transportation. And For Istanbul, the public transportation, I think it's the best way because it's a very crowded city, and there's a lot of traffic jam, and you know, if you use your own car, rent your own car, it's not a very good idea to rent a car in Istanbul. Parking is a problem. You have to pay for parking, and traffic is a problem, and you would go crazy. So use public transportation. If there's a traffic jam, then you could use the train, the subway, or you could take the ferry, or you could just walk. It's much more better to be stuck in traffic. So if you have to go somewhere, you don't want to use the public transportation, you would use taxi, of course. And I think it's global. Taxis are expensive everywhere, right? So in Istanbul, it's also expensive to travel with taxi, and most of the time you could, stuck in traffic with taxi. But you need to know the numbers, so you could, some taxi drivers, they took the long way because they assume that you are foreigners. Not all of them, but some of them, they assume that you are foreigners and you don't know the way, you don't know the road. So if the way is, for example, from here to here, instead of going like that, they go like that. So it's a long way and it's more money. Shame, but some people do that. So for that, there's an app in Turkey. It's called, I think, Bitaxi. Yeah, Bitaxi. You could set your location, and from that location you can see the taxis nearby. It's like kind of Uber, but not it's for taxis. You see the closest taxis, you choose one, and you also choose the destination, so you can see the destination on the map. Okay, so you see the destination on the map, and you can also pay with a credit card, I think. So it's good that if you don't have cash with you, you can pay with the credit card. So it's maybe more secure for foreigners to use that. But even if you use regular taxis, most of them are okay. But you would maybe ask local how to go there, how far is it, before you jump on the taxi, so you have an idea. Or use just your map on your smartphone to see how much does it take to go from some location to other location, so you have a general idea. And I think the taxi, let me check my notes. Yes, it starts with around 5-6 Turkish liras. It starts with that number, then it adds up in every kilometer. It adds up around 3, I think. Yeah, it's 3 Turkish liras per kilometer. So you can just look at the map, do your math. So we cover your transportation, right? Let's cover some transportation vocabulary. For taxis, we say taxi. Easy, right? Taxi. We just say taxi. For bus, we say otobüs. 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 For tren, I'm sorry. For train, we say tren. 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 And we have some jitneys, like these small, bigger taxi thing that you share your taxi, and we call them dolmuş. And we have these minibuses. They go like crazy, but they take you everywhere, and they're very cheap in general. We call them minibüs. And we have some ferries, because Istanbul is surrounded by sea. And for ferries, we say vapur. And let's check. Yeah. For subway, we say metro. And for this is just for Istanbul. Normally train is tren, as I told you before. But for Istanbul, because we have those under subway kind of thing between two sides of Istanbul, from European side to Asian side, that was called Marmaray, because the sea surrounding Istanbul is Marmara Sea, Marmara Denizi. That's why it was called Marmaray. And now they connected the train lines in both areas, in Anatolian part and European part, through Marmaray. So the whole train line is called Marmaray right now. Okay, this is just for Istanbul, but keep that in mind. So you know all about transportation, and let's go talk about eating. Okay, if you are living here, you would probably cook at home, so you would go to a grocery market or farmers market. There are a lot of farmers market in Turkey and in Istanbul as well. In every part of city there are different farmers market in different days. So generally farmers market are cheaper than grocery stores, and you know the food expenses are changing all the time. But if you're gonna cook, it's gonna be around, if you're one person, it's probably the groceries go around at least 300 Turkish liras per person. But again, it depends on how many food you buy, what kind of foods you buy, how much do you cook. I couldn't speak. How much do you cook? So it depends on a lot of factors, but let's say around 300 Turkish liras. But if you go out, you should go out. Turkish food is really, really, I would say, I don't know, number one. I really love it. You can find everything. I don't think anybody wouldn't find anything that at least would, I don't know. I'm speechless. Turkish food is good. And if you go out, you can find even the cheapest. We have simit. It's like some kind of bagel, but much delicious than bagel. It goes like 2 liras, 3 liras. You can get simit and ayran. It's a yogurt drink, ayran. You would pay 5-6 liras for that, and you would done with for breakfast, or you would done with for I don't know, like lunch, for a couple of Turkish liras. But besides street food, you should try street food, but you should be, you should talk to locals and ask them where to eat the street food. That would be safer. And mid-range restaurants would go like, I think, 30-40 Turkish liras per person. You could have a full meal with the the soup and the meat and some vegetables. And after that, for high class restaurants, you could pay like 200, 300, 500 even Turkish liras for specific foods. It goes forever, I think, according to your taste and according to your budget. So you should be, the food part is the easiest part to arrange your budget. I think that in every budget there is something good to eat, so it would be easier. So we covered the food, we covered utilities, we covered the housing, we covered transportation. Yeah, now let's talk about some fun activities. For example, if you want to go to a movie, the regular movies would start, I think, let me check, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think 3D movies are the blockbusters, are the most expensive ones. They start around 30-35 Turkish liras per person, and it can goes a little bit more expensive according to the movie theater. But there are like independent movies, independent movie theaters. There you can find tickets for even 10 Turkish liras, and some days are cheaper for students as well. If you are planning to study here, get a student card, because transportation, museums, or like some movie theaters are have discounts for students. So that's for the movies. For theaters, it's again, I think it starts from 20-30 Turkish liras. So if you think like euro, and if you change it to euro and all these prices to USD, it's gonna be really cheap. But if you are earning Turkish liras, that you can make a budget thinking these numbers. And yeah, concerts are, I think, a little bit more expensive. And I think it starts from 100 Turkish liras. It changes according to the, depending on the concert and the place. Maybe some concert would be even cheaper, but generally it would start from 100 Turkish liras, I think. And museums. Some museums are free. You can just go and have a walk and check it out. And some museums you have to pay a fee, and the fee can go up to, I think, 80 Turkish liras. That's the most, I think, one of the most expensive fees for museums. Generally, the museums are not that expensive in Turkey. So I think we are done with the costs. And let's talk about some fun leisure activity vocabulary as well before we go, and you'll be covered. So for museums, we would say müze, müze, müze. And for concerts, we would say konser, konser, konser. And for theaters, we would say tiyatro, teatro, tiyatro. And for movie theaters, we would say sinema, cinema, cinema. And let's see, for books, we would say kitap, kitap. And I didn't talk about the book fees, but it can start from $10, 10 Turkish liras. From it can go to 50, 60 Turkish liras if the book is really high quality with pictures, with good quality paper and like hardcover. It can go like that. And I think the ticket, we forgot the ticket. The ticket is bilet, bilet, bilet. Yay! Now you know all about the costs for living in Turkey, especially in Istanbul. So why don't you visit? Have you ever visited Istanbul or Turkey? How much did you spend? What did you find it expensive or cheap? Please leave some comments below and let me know. See you guys. Bye.
Speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.